Hello and welcome to today's video as we go over the second half of my semifinals preview and look more so at the teams and the way they're picking champions, how they approach draft and the differences that we may see. In the first part, we went over where the damage is coming from, gold, who's creating for these teams from a individual player perspective, and now let's look at how these teams are making their compositions and etc. And keep in mind, a big part of this is opponents. Who did they play? So Gen.g played 10 games at Worlds thus far. Half of them against FlyQuest, that 5-game series. Then they played also 3 games against HLE and a game against Top Esports and Weibo. T1 played 8 games, half of them against Top Esports, a quarter against G2, and then a game against Pain and BLG. BLG played 12 games, 4 of them against HLE, 3 of them against G2, 2 against PSG, and then a game against T1, LNG, and Mad Lions Koi. Lastly, Weibo played 13 games thus far at this tournament, majority being against LNG. They played 4 games against them, 3 games against D Plus and Fnatic, and a game against G2, Team Liquid, and Gen.g. So now we have some perspective on why maybe these teams ended up having, they were banning, right? You're banning against specific teams. Every player is different. Every different player has preferred champions, etc. So, and that's evident in Gen.g's most banned. So, excuse me. In terms of most picked, so what's the most common pool? You'll notice that Aurora is in red, which is to me top lane, based on what I've seen. Red, dark red usually signifies top lane. So Aurora is Keen's most common top lane selection at Worlds, and at the very least most successful as a tiebreaker based on KDA. Jungle, Nocturne, and then we have Ahri, Ashe, Leona. And a nice fun thing to maybe think about is which of these compositions would be the best out of these most common compositions, right? So Gen.g is Aurora, Nocturne, Ahri, Ashe, Leona. T1, Rumble, Vi, Ahri, Xayah, Rakan. BLG, Jax, Skarner, Ahri, Kai'Sa, Rell. And then Weibo, Nar, Skarner, Orianna, Ezreal, Rakan. And do not consider the players necessarily. I guess you could do it both ways. Consider the players and also just think of the compositions as a whole. Which one may be the best just holistically, thematically. It's just interesting though, right? Because Skarner is definitely preferred by the LPL junglers, but not necessarily the LCK, even though we know Gen.g were one of the first teams to really embrace the Skarner jungle since the rework. Ahri, most common pick for 3 of the teams, except Weibo, who like Orianna more than Ahri for Xiaohu. Bot lane, we see a couple with Rakan, T1, and Weibo, but BLG like Rell, Gen.g like Leona a lot. So there are different, different most common champions, what these teams are picking. But that's in part due to how draft went. What's being banned, right? So what do these teams get out of the way? They're like, okay, we're not playing against this team. Maybe we don't really prefer this champion quite as much as the other team might. So Gen.g banned a lot of Ivern at this tournament thus far, probably due to Inspired's Ivern being a big, reason. Ashe, Ezreal for AD carry. We have Maokai also for jungle. They also banned Renekton top and Orianna in mid lane. T1 banning the Yone quite a bit, which is a surprise because that's probably one of his best champions. Also Aurora, which is represented in orange, because technically Aurora has been picked more in mid lane at Worlds in the main event than it was being picked in top lane thus far. So that is something to think about as well. Obviously a strong flex, but nevertheless, it is more often picked in mid. Skarner, banned by T1, Rell, Poppy, and Ziggs. So, a couple supports down there. I am surprised to see a lot of Poppy bans out of T1. It seems like a pick that they would like to flex around a bit. In terms of BLG, Yone and Ahri are their most banned in mid lane. Renata and Poppy banned out of the support slot. Callista, actually, Renata should have been. Renata's written on here twice. I screwed up BLG's bans. They banned something else. I wrote Renata twice. I have to assume it's an 80 carry. I'm going to go with maybe Ezreal here. We see Ezreal being banned quite a bit by gen.g. Could be Ziggs as well. That is what it is. Weibo banning 3 80 carries out of their most banned. Kaisa, Ziggs, Callista. Technically, I guess Ziggs is an APC, but bot laners in particular. Mid lane banning Yone and Silas, but also top lane Rumble. But you see, not a lot of jungle bans out of Weibo. That is not a role that they're really trying to focus. Neither does BLG. But gen.g against FlyQuest wanted to get inspired out of it, and that makes sense. Peanut for HLE. What's being banned against them? What are these teams not really getting a chance to play? And we have to factor into the most common champions. I mean, hell, they might want to play this stuff, but it's not an option for them, right? So gen.g don't get to play a lot of Aurora or Yone, despite Aurora being a common top lane pick. It's one of the most banned, if not the most banned champions against gen.g at this tournament. So it's either pick or ban, which, I mean, for everybody, it's pretty much that case. Yone, bot lane role, Ziggs and Callista. Support, Rel. Nidalee also drawing a lot of bans. Canyons, Nidalee. T1, Callista and Ashe banned quite a bit. Renata in the support role. Orianna, Gnar, and Sejuani. So the only ones that are facing a lot of Sejuani bans, T1, and also Gnar. We don't see any pure top lane bans anywhere else against these 4 teams outside of Zeus's Gnar. Yes, Aurora can go to top lane, but Gnar is only a top lane. Like, they're like, okay, we're getting Zeus's Gnar out of here, which is an interesting thing to think about. BLG, 3 80 carry bans against Elk, Ashe, Kaisa, Ezreal. They're also banning having Vi banned against them. Ari, Aurora, bans on them. And then Weibo, banning Ashe, banning Skarner, banning Aurora and Yone, but also giving Pop, not banning, Jesus, he's banned against them. Banned against MBA. Poppy and Braum being banned against Crisp, which is interesting as well. You don't see other people really facing Braum bans. So, interesting picks by these teams, right, that are getting banned. I mean, uniqueness, right? People banning gen.g, Canyons, Nidalee. People banning Zeus's Gnar, owner Sejuani. Really, these picks are pretty standard against BLG. I mean, Elk's Kaisa, I guess, is getting some bans. The Ezreal possibly as well, something to note. Ashe is being banned by everybody but gen.g. They're more than willing to being banned against. Hopefully you were at the beginning of this video so you could understand what these columns meant, because even I am not getting it as I'm spewing shit right now. But interesting differences here between these 4 teams as we try and go into this weekend. I don't know, trying to look at it from an outside perspective. I'm not making predictions in this video or anything. It's just, every team is unique. There is uniqueness here. A lot of people say, oh, the meta is stagnant, this, that, and the third. Usually it's not the case. Usually these people blow things out of proportion and statistically aren't backed up by their claims. It's more so feelings rather than reality, but neither here nor there. Like I said, comment down below with your thoughts. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.